The Dardeen Family Murders, 1987. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only. What you're about to hear is a real case. Viewer discretion is advised. You're watching True Crimes AI. In a quiet mobile home in rural Illinois, a family was preparing for an ordinary day, but by the time that day ended, everything inside that home would be gone. A mother, a father, a young child, and a newborn baby, born during the attack itself, and the person responsible didn't leave behind a clear trail. No witnesses, no confirmed suspect, just silence, and one of the most disturbing unsolved crimes in Illinois history. In the small town of Ena, life was quiet and predictable. Keith Dardeen, 29, worked to support his family. His wife, Elaine Dardeen, 30, stayed home with their children. They had a 3-year-old son, Peter, and were expecting another child, a family building a future. Nothing about them suggested danger, conflict, or risk. They lived in a mobile home on a rural property, isolated enough to be private, but close enough to town that someone would notice if something went wrong. And yet, when it did happen, no one saw it coming. On November 17, 1987, Keith Dardeen didn't show up for work. At first, it seemed unusual, but not immediately alarming. Co-workers tried contacting him. No response. As concern grew, authorities were notified. Later that day, police went to the Dardeen home. What they found inside would change this case forever. Inside the home, Elaine Dardeen was found in bed. She had been severely beaten. Nearby, her 3-year-old son Peter was also found. He had been attacked with a baseball bat. That bat was believed to belong to the family. And then investigators discovered something even more devastating. Elaine had gone into labor during the attack. A newborn baby had been delivered inside the home. And that infant did not survive. The violence inside that small space was extreme, prolonged, and deeply personal. But Keith Dardeen was not there. He was missing. The search for Keith began immediately. At first, investigators weren't sure if he had escaped or been taken. But the next day, his body was found several miles away in a wheat field near Benton, Illinois. He had been shot multiple times. And unlike the others, he had been moved. Someone had transported him from the home and left him there. That detail shifted everything, because now investigators knew this wasn't random chaos. This was controlled, intentional, and deliberate. At the home, there were signs of a violent struggle, but no clear evidence of forced entry. That suggested something important. The attacker may have been let in or already known to the family. Money and valuables were left behind, which made robbery unlikely as a motive. The level of violence, however, told a different story. This wasn't quick, it wasn't simple, it was prolonged and deeply brutal. And it spanned multiple locations inside the home and outside in the field where Keith was found. As investigators worked the case, they quickly realized how difficult it would be. There were no clear witnesses, very limited forensic evidence, and no obvious suspect. They explored possible connections, personal relationships, local conflicts. Anything that could explain the brutality, but nothing solid emerged. Then, years later, a name entered the conversation. Serial killer Tommy Lynn Sells later claimed responsibility for the Dardeen murders. At first glance, the claim seemed significant. Sells was known for violent crimes across multiple states. But when investigators examined his confession, problems appeared. Details didn't match the evidence. Certain facts were inconsistent, and there was no physical evidence linking him to the scene. So while his name remains associated with the case, it has never been confirmed, and the mystery remained unsolved. Several theories continue to surround the case. One is the targeted attack theory, that someone specifically had a reason to harm the Dardeen family. A personal grievance, a conflict, or something unknown in their past. Another is the random violence theory, that an unknown offender acted without connection to the victims. But the controlled nature of the crime makes this harder to believe. There's also the serial offender theory, that a transient violent offender was responsible. Someone moving through areas, leaving behind similar crimes. But again, no confirmed link has ever been proven. And finally, the acquaintance theory, that the killer knew the family and was able to enter the home without resistance. Each theory explains part of the story, but none explain all of it. Today, the Dardeen family murders remain unsolved. Investigators with the Illinois State Police continue to keep the case open. Evidence is still preserved and periodically re-examined as forensic technology improves, but no arrests have been made, no charges filed, and no definitive suspect identified. A quiet home, a young family, a life that should have been continuing forward, cut short in a single violent moment, and what remains now is not just a crime scene, but a question: who did this? And why? Because somewhere in this story, the answer still exists, waiting, unspoken, unfound. If you enjoy real, detailed, true crime cases like this, make sure to subscribe, because every case deserves to be remembered and every victim deserves justice. You've been watching True Crimes AI.